Boom, we're recording. What the fuck is up, everybody? Welcome to Punch Drunk Philosophy. I'm Adam Real, and joining me this week, new father. How is your life now, Dr. Tony Rosati? You have birthed another human. Congratulations on that endeavor.
Thank you so much. It's everything you thought it would be. You know what I mean? I can't even begin to explain how amazing this is. Just to create life and to have this little guy here in the world. As crazy as this world is, it's probably, I mean, when they say it's the happiest day of your life, it pretty much is. So I'm humbled. I'm tired. I'm,
I can imagine.
Everything's great, man. It's fantastic. Like I can't even get over the fact that like this he's perfect. You know what I mean? It's unbelievable that somebody this wonderful has come to the world. So yeah, we're very blessed, and mom's doing well, and baby's doing well, and he was big. He's a big boy. So it was, he's gonna probably be bigger than me in no time. So I'm not exactly the biggest guy on the planet. But no, it's very cool.
Good stuff, good stuff. You can join the tall Ubermensch like myself.
Yeah, yeah, yes. There you go.
No, yeah, you described it as getting used to the new normal earlier.
Yes, yes.
Interesting stuff. Well, somebody who's not having as good a week is Kelvin Gastelum. Let's quick hit some MMA news first. Then we'll go into Kelvin Gastelum is pissed off. Justin Gaijthe is very happy. Justin Gaethje or Gaethje? I'll refer to him as Gaethje. Goat cheese. Justin Gaethje is very happy. He's just signed with the UFC, World Series of Fighting champion, 17-0 undefeated. And then obviously we'll get into the main topic of today, which is UFC 211. We have a pay-per-view card. We have an awesome pay-per-view card. 2 titles, a proper pay-per-view card. And the one thing that really stuck out to me about UFC 211 is you go down the betting odds. The biggest dog on it, I think we said, was Sergio Pettis at plus 330, but most of the fights are plus 100 underdogs, minus 110 favourites. Very evenly matched matchups, very interesting matchups that are quite hard to call, in my opinion. That's going to give us some quality mixed martial arts. Alright, so let's begin with Kelvin Gastelum. He says he's never going to fight in Brazil again because of his ordeal under the your video's frozen. Actually, that came up on my screen, so now everybody knows that you messaged me.
Really?
But yeah, is my video frozen? Yours isn't frozen.
Yeah, for me, like I could just see like yours frozen and pixelated. I mean, I could see me moving, but I don't know if it's my computer.
Yeah. Well, it seems fine, so let's continue. But anyway, yeah, Kelvin Gastelum says that he's not going to fight in Brazil again because the horrible ordeal he's had with the commission. He tested positive for cannabis, which is, a debatable issue in mixed martial arts as it is. And it was reduced to metabolites a while ago, and they said that you basically will only test positive if you are high before the fight, like if you smoke the night before or the morning of. Not like months out, like guys like Pat Healy were caught for and really, really like fucked in the arse financially over. Kelvin Gastelum has dropped about 100k financially, he said, and most importantly, he's had the opportunity to fight Anderson Silva at UFC 213 taken away from him, which would have been 212, would have been the biggest fight of his career, the biggest opportunity in his career to move up in the middleweight division. Like, an absolute fucking tragedy all around. He was on the MMA Hour earlier, nearly in tears. It was horrible. So, yeah, what's your take on Kelvin Gastelum's grievance here?
Well, I mean, we can look at it 2 ways. I'm gonna look at it first against him. I'm gonna play both sides here, and the reason I'm gonna say against him is because arguably he's had we know he's had a hard time making weight at welterweight. So obviously he moved up to middleweight, and he's one of those guys that's always kind of been on the fringe, and moving up seemed to do really well for him. Now, the problem is we don't know enough of the story, so I can't even speak 100% his favor or 100% against him. So that's why I'm kind of giving both sides. Why even mess around with it right now? I don't agree with the rules on this personally, and I don't think it should be a big deal. And I also understand about Brazil's sketchiness because it's been well documented. But why?
Oh yeah, Brazil's sketchiness in regards to testing. They've had some fraudulent ones, haven't they?
I mean everything. The sketchiness all over. You know,
TRT to Belfort.
Yeah. Yes, and I think it's very interesting that this is against Belfort too. So, you know. Yeah.
Is Tony alleging something here? Dr. Tony, are you accusing someone in Brazil of corruption? Really?
Maybe. So, you know, it's one of those weird things where you don't really know what to say in this instance. You know, but why is he messing around with it to begin with? Now, I want to believe him and saying that he didn't do it. The problem is with marijuana, it's one of those things where, yes, metabolites and whatnot, but it varies in your system about how much you've smoked, how much fat content you have in your body, and what you're doing to rid yourself of it. You know, so, and it varies. And I mean, what happened with that? When was he being tested? Did he just smoke? Didn't he? I kind of feel for him in a way because this is screwing him over. He's a guy that's going to be forever muddled in this picture. Not to mention, he's in a division that we know is an absolute clusterfuck right now.
Yeah, middleweight.
And I mean, all he's doing is kind of, you know, spinning his wheels right now, and it's not helping his case because there's a ton of other guys that are above him right now, and they're also in a logjam with this whole ordeal. You know, I mean, I'm glad he kind of called it out, the whole Brazil thing, and something needs to be done. I mean, do we need to go to unified, universal rules?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, then that's going to be another, you know, a whole other ordeal. You know, that's the only way that we can, you know, maybe fix some of these things. But I mean, when you can't even get the states, individual states to get it, I mean, look at this whole grounded opponent thing that some of the states haven't adopted the new rules and everything, and we're going to have another gray area like Weidman and Musashi again. So, you know, I mean, good for him for coming out, you know, about Brazil. Unfortunately, Brazil, you kind of learn from your history. And until you prove otherwise, we know that there's stuff going on, and there's stuff been going on with TRT violations and, you know, the testing procedures and your favoritism towards your home country. Your fighters are from there, and it's pretty interesting that this was against your beloved Vitor. So I don't really know what to make of it. I wish I would know both sides, and we got to be very careful to kind of accuse one person or the other of doing something when we don't know the facts.
I mean, if they are doing it with those kind of intentions, it's really counterproductive for them and the MMA community in Brazil because they've cost Anderson Silva that what was potentially a retirement fight in Brazil, which would have drawn extra into the city, extra revenue, and the Brazilian economy is in the shit right now, so it really does need these kind of events that really will stimulate and bring in external money into and inject that into the economy. So, yeah, they'd be really stupid to like chase them away. I think Gastelum's stance is like somewhat moderate. I think his comments have been fairly overbloated. That he doesn't have really that much animosity for Brazil, but just doesn't want to ever deal with that commission again because it's just a fucking nightmare. Which I can imagine. Anyway, let's go into more positive news then. Justin Gaijthe from World Series of Fighting. Really exciting guy. I always like seeing undefeated fighters outside of the UFC come to the UFC because then you really see some interesting stuff happen. Because you either get guys like Lombard who put together a streak that's... I guess, is it fair to say now that streak is more or less artificial? It was just he was fed cans, and now he proved himself not to be UFC caliber. But yeah, then you get guys like Khabib Nurmagomedov who carry on that undefeated streak and fucking maul everybody. Will Justin Gaethje be successful in the UFC? Dr. Tony, what do you think?
I think time will tell. I don't think you put him in there against somebody like Ferguson right away. You know, I think you kind of tread lightly with this guy. I mean, it's quite rare to see these guys with so much build-up that you really think could make that next level over to the UFC. And the other thing with UFC too is they want to be very careful. They're bringing in this is the third fighter from WSOF that they're bringing in right now, which is great because they've been losing some of these fighters to Bellator, and now they're grabbing people with the whole contract issues and sponsorship issues. This is a guy that's a high-profile fighter. He's 17-0, I believe, and I think 14 of his wins have come by knockout. So, I mean, he's explosive. And I mean, to add another explosive fighter in this already dynamic lightweight division is going to be ridiculous. So I think he'll do okay. The problem is I don't know how far you want him to, go. I mean, do you give him? I mean, just looking at the line, I mean.
Well, he wants Barboza. That was kind of the main name floated around.
It would be fun.
I'd say. I mean, my pick would be. I'm not sure what Gilbert Melendez is doing right now, but I'd say a Gilbert Melendez fight would be really on the cards. Justin Gaethje he's very, very willing to get hit and usually can overpower people. His leg kicks are really tasty, but something with leg kicks as well. It's a move that loses its efficacy against the elite because of that leg conditioning. You're not going to get leg TKOs on a top 5, top 10 fighter. But you can do some fucking damage. So it'll be interesting to see his style of getting hit and like taking hits, but delivering more so in the process by fighting in the pocket. It'll be interesting to see how that fares against guys with a lot more precision punching power in the UFC. He's only faced one guy of some serious name recognition, I think, which is Melvin Gillard, and that was a split decision. So it's possible he might not actually be UFC caliber. I don't want to say that because I really, really like the guy. I find him really exciting. So what do you think about the Edson Barboza fight?
I like it. I mean, I was thinking Michael Johnson.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'll go with that.
Perhaps. I mean, he's another guy that if you want to see some fireworks, you could see it as well, too.
So he consensus like a top 10, top 15 opponent?
Yeah, I think he should be. I mean, I'm looking down at the list, and I mean, like, Melendez is in there. Like, he's a 14. Poirier's already locked up. Diaz isn't going to fight. Chiesa, I think, has a fight going on. I don't want to see him fight Dos Anjos. I really don't. Dos Anjos, blah. You know what I mean? Like,
well, he's a welterweight now.
Well, yeah. Nurmagomedov, we know the issues with that. Ferguson, I think, would be too soon. So, yeah, Barboza, Johnson, one of those guys is fine.
Yeah, something fun to sort of test around. I'd be interested to see how Gaethje's wrestling translates as well, because he does use a lot of like slams and stuff. I think he's knocked people out with slams before. Quite elaborate takedowns and throws that I think wouldn't work at the UFC level because of obviously people being able to trip and counter. And when you get countered on a trip like that, it's easy to end up in a terrible position. So how he adapts to that, I'd be very interested to see. If he still balls to the wall and succeeds, that would be the most amazing thing. That would be really, really fucking cool. I don't think it's... I don't know. I'm not going to make predictions on it. I'm very excited about Justin Gaethje in the UFC. Though, prediction time, UFC 211. Should we go into that?
Absolutely, I'm ready.
Fuck yes. UFC 211, a card headlined by 2 titles. This is what a fucking pay-per-view needs to have. All the pay-per-views, all the numbered pay-per-views, UFC events need to have 2 titles on the line. We can't just have a main event and then other fights. We need to have a main event, co-main event that's really good as well, and really kind of that fight card, that feeling of a great fight card where lots of significant stuff happens. Because if you've got a card, a pay-per-view card, that you want people to, pay to view, it has to be significant. Like, why can't I just watch other fights then? Why do I have to pay for these fights, and why do I get these fights for free somewhere else? And I think it's significant. Significance is the key factor, not just like entertainment value. I think all of these fights have significant implications for the rest of the divisions, and it's an unmissable event for MMA fans. So let's start with the main event. Junior Dos Santos, former UFC heavyweight champion, is back challenging for the title against Stipe Miocic. Okay, Dr. Tony, who have you got in this one and why?
I have Stipe.
Mm-hmm.
Knockout round 4.
Interesting.
I think. See, here's the thing. Their first fight was close. It was a decision by JDS. I believe round 2. Round 2 was Stipe's, and then there was a question about round 5. I think round 5 could have gone either way. JDS won a close decision. The one significant thing about that fight was I looked at the takedowns, the takedown attempts. It was 18 attempts by Stipe, and he landed 1. I don't think that's going to be the case anymore with this one. I just think based on what I've seen in the fights from both these guys, I've seen 2 different fighters. I've seen Stipe learn from his loss to Dos Santos and get stronger. I've watched JDS, and he looks like a shell of the former crazy man that was doing wars with Velasquez. There's something about him. I don't know if it's his heart. He just looks lost.
Are you talking about the Overeem fight more so, or still in the Rothwell fight?
Well, the Overeem one, definitely. The Rothwell too. He looked better but it's Rothwell. And to me, it was uninspiring. I don't know. There's something about JDS that's lacking for me. There's something. He's not as scary. He's not. He just looks uninterested.
Well, I think Cain Velasquez does that to people. I mean, the losses he sustained to Cain Velasquez, those are eat your soul kind of losses.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. He's a different person in there, and I think Stipe's just getting stronger as it goes on. And I think, and Stipe's, I believe right now at the level they both are, I think Stipe's a lot more well-rounded than JDS is right now, especially when it comes to grappling. And it'd be smart if Stipe actually went. It was a good thing that he went after these takedowns, but it wasn't very effective the first time against JDS. And JDS is not exactly, as far as his defense is pretty decent, but at 80%. But the thing is, Stipe is not really notoriously good, in takedowns either. So it's kind of tough. So I think they're going to be more apt to stand a little bit more. But I think Stipe is going to have a little bit of an edge, though, as far as heart, as far as like ferocity and velocity and just quickness and precision. And I think he's going to, he may keep JDS at bay by attempting those takedowns and at least, keep him guessing with that. I think Stipe is getting more polished, especially in his stand-up game. And he's a bad dude. Just watching, look at his last 4 guys were by knockout. Granted, Mark Hunt was one of them. Mark Hunt is a one-way thing. Overeem, I don't even want to mention one of the guys because you're going to start crying. So I'll skip over.
That Arlovsky knockout.
Yeah, and and Fabricio too. And it's but Stipe is, he's legit, and I don't see. I know this could go the other way. If Junior Dos Santos is ready and he could get it. This could end up a different way. I just don't see it. I think Stipe is going to have this easily. I also think that JDS is going to wear out, too. I think by the 4th round, he's going to drop his hands a little bit more, and I think that's going to come into play as well. Cardio has been very, very sketchy for him, and I think that's going to have some issues with it. So, yeah, officially Stipe round 4.
Oh, well, yeah, the cardio was very very significant in the first fight. I felt Stipe Miocic's cardio was not as there in that fight as it could have been and how it's been in fights recently. Junior Dos Santos was able to pull it through in that fight, and I think that was the kind of key difference maker in swinging the judges. And also, a few unfortunate placements and careless mistakes, which I think happens when you're tired. When you're fatigued, you can't get your brain to rationalise as much. You go off instinct. And then you make mistakes like with that knockdown where his feet are just parallel, which you should never get caught doing. Stipe Miocic, I agree with most of your assessment. I thought we were going to argue on here at least a little bit, but I've actually got Stipe Miocic getting a TKO in round 2. But as usual, it's heavyweight, so my certainty on this one is somewhat limited. Junior Dos Santos has always been fucking scary. He always will be fucking scary. And at American Top Team, we know he's not declining. He's not a guy like Johnny Hendricks who's gone up and set up a weird camp somewhere and is walking into a decline with that. He's stayed at a top gym. His personal life seems to be in order now. Like around the Kane loss, he was going through a divorce. And that, I think, does play a significant role in a fighter's mentality going in, especially at the championship level. Miocic in the first fight seemed to be going for somewhat of a similar game plan to Cain Velasquez, that sort of like wrestling into the boxing, which destroys a guy like Junior Dos Santos who moves back. But Miocic quickly discovered that he's not Cain. Like, because the reason it works for Cain is his insane cardio, his insane output. But I've got a lot of faith in Stipe Miocic pulling away here because just of how he's risen to the role of champion. He's taken it so to heart. His facilities have improved. His precision in his right hand. I think that's the main difference you can see in kind of like the evolution of skill in him. Like how he's been able to apply that boxing so effectively. When he made his debut UFC 136, it was back in the day they had Facebook prelims. He was fighting Joey Beltran. I can't say I was actually that impressed with Stipe Miocic initially because he seemed to be getting Beltran really like on the end of his punches, or like not kind of like precisely lining it down. But now over time that's honed. He's able to like jab his way in and boom with that right hand get it over. And he was doing that quite a lot in the Junior Dos Santos fight. He was able to finally get it down. Dos Santos has that long, low jab that he likes to do. He likes to get people to drop their hands by punching to their stomach and then go over the hand with maybe the overhand right or get a combo of his own or the lead left hook. Miocic should know how to counter these. He's very, very well trained. He's shown he's got good head protection in those kind of atmospheres, especially for countering power shots against a guy like Mark Hunt. All that relevant experience, but Steve Overeem clipped him. Overeem clipped him in the last fight. If Dos Santos does that, it could be good night. You can never be so sure with heavyweights, and that's what makes it so exciting. That's why the UFC heavyweight title has never been defended more than twice. If Miocic is able to pull this one off, his next win is for the record, which I think Randy Couture, Cain Velasquez, and Brock Lesnar, I think, are the only people to defend the title twice. Miocic could join them. But on that, despite Junior Dos Santos being legendary status, and I love them both as people, I see him being overwhelmed skill-wise in this. Not because he is in any way inferior skill-wise or bad skill-wise. It's just Miocic has just got that fucking good. He's just that fucking good. And after getting knocked out in the second round against Alistair Overeem, I think there are some holes in Dos Santos' game, and the chin and the resilience and the athleticism will not be there as much to win with. But I don't know. I've been going back and forth on this fight, rating Junior Dos Santos' chances, but I'm with you here. Stipe Miocic, knockout.
Let me ask you this. Do you see what I see in JDS? Do you see there's something missing from him in the last couple fights, even with Rothwell? Or no?
Somewhat. I don't know if it's just activity. Stipe Miocic has been a lot more active than Junior Dos Santos recently, taking so many more fights. So he's just sort of falling out of his role in the public psyche. He was this he had one loss right back in the day, so like that armbar. He had that one loss winning streak. He debuts against Fabricio Verdum, knocks him out. Was in this really scary place when he was a champion because he just knocked out the streak of contenders, and then he killed Cain Velasquez, who was thought to be like the Uber of the Uber. Until those Cain Velasquez losses, you're right. Are you saying he's lost something from the Cain Velasquez losses from then? Do you think that is just mystique and the way we're viewing him?
No, just his body, the way he carries himself in the octagon. Ever since then, it's weird. I can't really. explain. It just, you look at him and you just you don't see the urgency in his face. You don't see, it's almost like he's less active in the ring. And I don't know, to me, it just doesn't, he's not as scary. You know what I mean? Like, the one thing about him is he was scary. Like, even when he comes in and he does his point, he steps to the middle of the octagon, that doesn't even look as scary. He looks like Shrek now when he does it. So, like this big goof. Like, I don't know, it's weird. It's one of those things for me where it just looks like his soul was left that day by Kane, taken, and he hasn't recovered it yet.
I think it was just those two fights. It's when you know someone in there, there's someone in the division who you probably will never be able to beat now. It's just the way Kane thought that game plan was so perfect, so precise, and so destructive in all areas. Then, yeah, that must take the hunger, because if your objective is to fight for the title, then your objective is to fight that guy, and you've already fought him 3 times, and the last 2 of those times have been utter destruction. Yeah, I see your point. So there's something psychologically there in the minds of fans, and probably probably with him himself. But yeah, Stipe Miocic knockout round 2 is my prediction. I think it's going to happen earlier because I think he's got that sense of urgency, and I think he knows how to knock people out now. I think he has that kind of boxing game plan, like really like filed down to a T. Do you agree? Well, yeah, and fourth round knockout for Dr. Tony. Okay, let's go into the co-main event. Joanna Jędrzejczyk versus Jessica Andrade. Jessica Andrade coming down from the bantamweight division not long ago and has gone on a tear at strawweight. And Joanna Jędrzejczyk has killed everybody else, so bring on Jessica Andrade. But I think this is her biggest challenge yet. Do you agree with that sentiment? And who are you picking?
Do I agree that Andrade is going to be her biggest threat? I do, to the point that I think we're gonna have a new champion.
Ooh.
I actually do. I'm not confident in this pick at all. It's kind of one of my bold picks.
Explain, Dr. Tony.
Just going over this, Andrade, I love the move that she made. The one thing that I was concerned about, is the one thing. Jędrzejczyk is amazing. Don't get me wrong. She's fantastic, and there's a good chance she's going to retain. I just think Andrade is going to get her, and I think she's going to win in the first round.
Okay, well, Jędrzejczyk is a very good striker. How do you think she's going to win in the first round?
I think she's going to win by rear naked. I think Andrade proved a little bit of her takedown. She took down Angela Hill twice. She's very big. I mean, she's not okay. I can't say she's very big. The reach advantage is not to Andrade. I believe Jędrzejczyk has a 3-inch reach. 3-inch, yeah, 3-inch, yeah, 65 to 62. It's gonna be. I'm telling you right now, they're gonna come out flying. The 2 of them are going to trade punches left and right. The one weakness about Andrade that I watched against Angela Hill is her defense kind of scared me a little bit at times. Mm-hmm. She got knocked down by Hill, and her defense was kind of suspect. I was very impressed, though, that the fact that she took her down, took down Hill a couple times. I think Andrade is going to clip her. I really do. I think the power. I think Jędrzejczyk hasn't experienced this power before, and I think Andrade, especially, and she's very confident. We have to kind of put that into consideration too. She came out in the media and said she trained with her before, and she's. I mean, granted, we've heard this before from certain fighters and camp and all that stuff, and they've done this and that, and whether it's true or not, whatever. But I think she's got this confidence, and I think that's going to be the X factor in this one. Andrade is on a mission. I mean, ever since she's moved to this weight class, she's been on a tear. And the fact of the matter is, I was worried about a couple things about Andrade. The last fight kind of proved otherwise. She went the distance. I was worried maybe her cardio's not there. That's why I also think the longer this goes, the less likely she's going to win. That's why I'm calling a first round submission. I think she's going to catch her. with a punch or two, hurt her. Maybe she'll like some takedowns. That's the big question mark about Joanna. I mean, we could all agree that she's a striker. I mean, if you look even at her stats.
Yeah, but she's faced grapplers before. Like she faced Claudia Gadelha and was able to fend her off.
Right.
If she was so good at submissions though, wouldn't Angela Hill have been submitted pretty promptly? I mean, Angela Hill is pretty easy to submit by like some strawweight standards. She's had a few first round submission losses. So I think she would, if she was that good. It's her power as well. It's overwhelming for Penne and it's overwhelming for others. Angela Hill was able to outlast it, and she wasn't taking the shots well, really. She was taking like a lot of the shots direct. You've got Joanna Jacek has been clipped before and rocked, so there's accusations, weird way of putting it, but there's skepticism about her chin maybe, which is kind of weird for an undefeated fighter. So I could maybe see a rocky situation. She does like to take some time to get into the fights and maybe not always has the best first round. So yeah, I could see her getting taken down in the first round, maybe clipped once or twice. But if this goes out of the first round, this is going to be Jon Jacek all day. She is brilliant over 5 rounds. When she gets into the rhythm, she is fucking fearless. She's very, very comfortable in the octagon. And like Stipe, someone who really, really has risen to the role of champion and taken it so well. It's quite weird to think back to when she rose up now, because she won a controversial fight over Gadelha, who was being primed as the best person outside of the Tough 20 tournament. And then she destroys the winner of the Tough 20 tournament. It's she's gone from that kind of relative anonymity to proper stardom very, very quickly. I'm very impressed with Joanna Jacek. Very big test, but I'm not going to join you here on calling for Andrade to be the winner here. I say Joanna Jacek 4th round TKO. I think this is going to be a finish. I don't think Andrade can last over those rounds and will eventually just cave to the accumulative damage of Joanna Jacek's elbows.
I could see that too. I mean, that's one of these things is, I could see it either way. I'm just making a little bit more out of the box pick. I still think it's a possibility. That's why first round I say if it doesn't happen in the first round, I agree with you. I think, it's the champ's fight to lose then after that. Because honestly though, I mean, I just see it. I don't know why, but I could see it like just getting a firefight. She gets clipped with one of those, and next thing you know, she's on her, and I don't know. I could just see her submitting her. I think. It, and that's my whole thing with it. So, whether that remains to be seen. I mean, we could most likely be looking at still champion, but it's my little bold prediction of the card.
I've had those feelings before. Just when you sort of. How much can you make on it? You can't even make that much on that bold pick. It's she's a plus 150 underdog.
Right. And she's scary. I mean, that's a thing too. I mean, this is probably arguably the most powerful fighter that she's gone against. Mm-hmm. So you don't know what's going on. And I mean, does she know Joanna? Does Jessica know her that well? I mean, that could come into play too. But who knows? They could go the other way as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think she maybe just trained with her a bit back in the day, and things change, and individual practices, they're not the fight. Okay, let's get into the next fight on the card then. Damian Maia versus Jorge Masvidal. Firstly, kind of weird that this fight was made. Most people would have pegged Damian Maia as just to be a straight-up number 1 contender. Then obviously we had to have the rematch between Wonderboy and Woodley. Woodley's prevailed. So this is officially a number 1 contender match. Kind of weird for Masvidal to get it, considering Ally Kinter is out there, who has beaten him not that long ago. And Lorenz Larkin beat Masvidal as well, and he's not fighting in a number 1 contender match. But yeah, Masvidal just beat Cerrone. He's had a decent run, and now he's fighting number one contender Damian Maia. Dr. Tony, how do you see this one playing out and why?
Well, just to add a little point to Lorenz Larkin, it's because he's one of the few that jumped ship to Bellator. So.
Oh yeah. Obviously, well,
why.
that's a bad look as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you look at the last fights, I mean, okay, Cerrone, I'll give him that, but Jake Ellenberger, Ross Pearson.
Yeah, and the Ellenberger one as well. That was controversial. We got his foot caught in the.
Yeah, and I mean, it's whatever. I mean, then you look at this, Carlos Condit, Brown, Nelson, Magny, LaFleur. Listen, Damian Maia wants this title shot more than anybody else.
Deserved it.
And yes, and he's going to get it. I mean, clinic. This is not bold prediction. Damian Maia is going to take him down, and he's going to do what Damian Maia does, and put on a jiu-jitsu clinic. Damian Maia is the beast when it comes to jits, and this is going to be. I think he's going to grind him. It may be decision. I'm trying to figure out what I want to pick. Damian Maia, either in a unanimous decision, or I'm going to even say, I'll say third round submission.
I'm going to say first round.
Are you going to say first?
With it under a minute. Take down, take back, choke.
I mean, and that's, that's very well. That's probably going to happen. I mean, this is not, yes. Masvidal, it's kind of weird. What are you gonna do?
What if Maia reigns then for like 10 years as champ just through that move? He just becomes completely unbeatable at it, finding a single leg, taking the back, choking out in under a minute, and he does that for a year like he's found a glitch in the game, and he just ruins MMA.
I tell you what, he'll have a long career if he keeps doing that.
Exactly. He could theoretically carry on to like well in his 50s.
Yeah, because he's not going to take any damage. And he's going to, he's going to preserve a lot of things. And Maia is dangerous. Mm-hmm. He wants that shot with Woodley. Woodley's already talking about camp. He's already getting ready for July to defend. Well, this is the fight. I really don't. I don't see any way Masvidal wins this, honestly. Unless he just starts throwing haymakers right at the get-go, but Maia's not stupid.
Yeah.
So Maia's not going to stand right in front of him and take a shot from him. So, yeah, this one I think is a no-brainer. You look at the experience-wise, you look at just the superiority on the ground. It's and Masvidal's not. Make no mistake about it. Masvidal is very good, but he doesn't have the precision striking like somebody he's not a precision striker.
He's got very good technique, I'd say, but in terms of applying it, not so much.
Right.
His fight IQ as well is very, very dodgy. He's just given rounds away completely due to inactivity a lot of the time. Some bizarre decisions made. I kind of rate Masvidal, but I don't know how much. To the extent he seems like somewhat of an underachiever.
Right.
Maybe he's a lot better than we think he is now, because he did handle Donald Cerrone. Knocking out Don Cerrone is not an easy task. It's not an achievement to really be belittled. You got to respect him for that. But yeah, Damian Maia is Damian Maia. What this man is capable of is fucking supernatural. Very few fighters I will consider on that level. I just look and I can't believe what I'm seeing because it's so fucking fantastic.
Well, it's effortless too.
Oh yeah, just so fluid, so beautiful, so natural.
It's fun to watch. You know what I mean? It's usually you think of people that wrestle and jiu-jitsu and things like that is very boring. People want to see the highlight. Not for him though. For him, you could look at it and it's just an art. It's amazing, absolutely amazing.
Oh yeah, and every second someone spends on the ground with him, you're like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. And is he going to get that takedown? Can anybody keep him off? I even found the John Fitch fight, I think UFC 156, really back in the day, where he just was constantly on his back. Like, it was amazing to see a fighter like Fitch just unable, like, to get Damian Maia off his back. Just it was incredible. Damian Maia did the same thing every round: take down, take the back. And experienced grapplers could just do nothing. You know exactly what Maia's going to do. You spend your whole camp in preparation of exactly what he's going to do, but he fucking does it anyway. It's kind of like, I don't want to make the comparison, but like Ronda Rousey back in the day, that kind of excitement of keeping up this streak. Can you have a first round armbar again? Can you have a first round armbar again? And yeah, Damian Maia, he might be going on a streak now of first round rear naked chokes. Doing that to Condit was it was just mind blowing. Like, I couldn't process it as reality. It was just so
fluid.
Yeah, just so Maia is so good. Damn, man, damn. That guy's the Einstein of jiu-jitsu. He's just a complete leader in his field. Amazing. I feel so yeah, they need to get gold on him ASAP. I think he can beat Woodley, and that kind of reign as champion would be really interesting. And hey, jiu-jitsu schools all across the country, I think, will see a big spike in attendance.
Sure, absolutely.
Because I mean, you can always talk about jiu-jitsu as an art. Some people believing it's a decline in relevancy in some ways, and if you adapt wrestling and that in its own way, it'll serve more effectively than kind of like doing pure jiu-jitsu in the gi. Because I think attendance at those kind of schools die. Because I don't want to go to them personally. I prefer going to proper MMA schools that incorporate all the ground and pound. I don't like wearing a gi. I prefer no gi grappling. And I find Gracie Barra schools to mostly be snobby as fuck. But seeing a guy like Damian Maia makes me want to wear those silly pajamas and beg an old guy for belts. Maybe he can revitalise that kind, because it's fucking worked for him, huh?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, let's move down on the card. Another matchup that I would consider a no-brainer in predicting, but I'm still very interested to see how it transpires. Frankie Edgar versus Yair Rodriguez. Yair Rodriguez rising up, a really interesting contender, a really exciting contender, a lot of flashy shit, loves his jumping kicks, has just absolutely destroyed a returning BJ Penn, upset that. That sucked. I got stupid. I thought I'd bet on BJ Penn for that, because I was so dumb. I didn't. Yeah. Well, it was more the fact that I didn't rate Yair Rodriguez. It's just kind of like, you know, when you see time and time again these guys who are really flashy, really exciting, but their fundamentals aren't down. So there's a bit of hype around them, and then they get to the top level and their fundamentals are really exposed. Yair Rodriguez looks pretty tight against BJ Penn. Looked very solid, but hey, BJ Penn, maybe he's not so good anymore at all. I mean, that fight was just terrible. He looked like he came there to lose, BJ Penn, sadly. So, but he is against Frankie Edgar. Frankie Edgar is God. Frankie Edgar is, in terms of a mixed martial artist, is a well-rounded mixed martial artist. Somebody who's worked and polished relentlessly in all those areas and just has the toughest of mindsets, the most warrior of hearts. He's such a treat to watch, and his career, his record really doesn't reflect how good he is, because he's someone who fought at 155, way above his like natural kind of fighting weight, I guess. Fought there for such a long time, but he's not been able to like maintain a long period with championship gold. Okay, against Yair Rodriguez, Frankie Edgar. How are you predicting this fight, and why are you predicting it the way you are predicting it? Great word jumble there.
Question that we're going to. I think we're not going to disagree on this whatsoever. I see Frankie Edgar taking this. As far as method, I don't know. I'm going to say decision right now. I'm going to say Frankie Edgar, unanimous decision. And, you know, you hit it right on the head with this. Flashy, rising prospect up the ranks. How many times do we talk about this? How a guy that's got so much potential, and sometimes they just go that higher level.
Yeah.
They hit a brick wall. Now, Yair Rodriguez, I would have liked to see. I think he's going to be something. He needs a lot of polishing to do, though. His fundamentals, they could use some work. The problem is Frankie Edgar's not going to be the guy that's going to be welcoming to him. Frankie Edgar, I mean, once Yair Rodriguez hits him a couple times and realizes that Frankie Edgar has a chin made of granite, that's gonna really do something to his confidence. I did not see the BJ Penn fight ahead of time the way you did at all. BJ Penn needed to retire a long time ago, and let's not forget Frankie Edgar retired BJ Penn the first time.
Yeah, savagely.
And I mean, it was unbelievable. Frankie Edgar is a master, like you said. He's amazing. I mean, he's so well-rounded. He could take a punch. He could wrestle. I mean, just Gray Maynard trilogy. That's all I have to say to anybody.
136, one of my favorite fights of all time.
Oh my God! I mean, to take the punches that he did, to get knocked down, and then end up getting back and win. I mean, unbelievable. And I mean, he's been in there with everybody. And the thing is, since he's moved to featherweight, he's lost twice. Well, look who he's lost both times to. One of the pound-for-pound greatest ever, in Jose Aldo.
It was a very, very tough matchup for... and he's not lost it, like, devastatingly.
Right.
On the judges' scorecards, you know, shit happens. In terms of a striker, in terms of grappler, like, the work he's been able to do under Renzo Gracie and Mark Henry are just... he's a top class athlete. I can't see any areas that are really significantly weak. Everything's just so polished, world class. Like he's the top MMA machine. He's got the perfect mindset. He's tough. He's very highly intelligent. He can completely think with clarity in a fight. He doesn't make many stupid decisions. He's got the best coaching behind him, the best game planning behind him. His boxing, even his use of kicks, I find really, really impressive. Speaking of kicks, Yair Rodriguez probably throwing a few body kicks, and as we saw in the Benson Henderson fight, he can catch them and bring them down. My prediction for this fight with Frankie Edgar is destruction in the very first round. I think he's going to take Yair Rodriguez down. I think he's going to mount him very quickly because he can do that to guys. His guard passing is just like fuck. Like the Swanson fight. Swanson is a very talented fighter. He fights well off his back. He's trains at Jackson Wink, so was very, very well prepared for this. But Frankie Edgar was able to pass his guard like it was nothing. Was able to get to mount and deliver like punishment. It takes a lot of practice to be able to get so comfortable on the ground to stall those kind of jiu-jitsu guys and get them off you and not have them just mount and destroy you. So I'd say either a rear naked choke, as in Yair Rodriguez turns around, gives up his back, or elbows pummeling into a bloody unconscious mess on the ground. I think this was a terrible matchup to make if you wanted to make some kind of a star out of Yair Rodriguez, because I think he'd be very useful for doing pay-per-views, doing like fight nights down in Mexico. I think they should have given him someone else so he can rack up a few more high-profile KO wins, and then you can market him as a star and then maybe make a title run. But feeding him to Frankie Edgar, he's not someone you build someone off. This is... yeah. What do you think of the matchup as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's too early for him to fight somebody like Edgar. And I really would like him to go against somebody else before Edgar, because I think there's potential in Rodriguez. And I think you need to build him up, and I think this is another example of them kind of rushing. You know, let's not forget about Frankie Edgar. He's 35 years old. He's won the lightweight title. You know damn well he's going after that featherweight title. And he's a fight or two away from that. Does he get the winner of Aldo and Holloway?
Potentially. I'd say definitely if Holloway wins.
I mean, you make the trilogy. I mean, I know he lost both, but they were both decisions to Aldo.
Yeah, I mean, I'd guess so. I guess, yeah, give Frankie Edgar that win. But I don't know, off Yair Rodriguez? I'm not sure you could off Yair Rodriguez. I want to see Frankie Edgar fight for the title again.
Do you go Cub?
Nah, I can't do it with Cobb, not with Frankie.
No, they've already fought, but do you give Cub the title shot?
Maybe you can make something out of that. I don't know, yeah. Cub Swanson is good. It's just the fact that Frankie Edgar absolutely destroyed him.
Yeah.
You probably could build a good fight with him and Aldo, though. But yeah. Well, it's a discussion for the next pay-per-view. But yeah, I think Max Holloway is going to be the new champ.
I disagree.
Well, I've just realised actually, how many podcasts have we done predicting Aldo fights? I've predicted him to lose in, I think, nearly all of them, and I've only been right in one.
I think I've predicted him to win all of them. So.
Yeah, and you were wrong in one. The Conor McGregor one, I was right about.
Yes, you were.
Yeah. Because I said I thought Chad Mendes the second time that would be it. Like, Chad Mendes was so good. He looked so good then, and I just wasn't impressed with Aldo. I've always thought Aldo is declining, but then he pulls out a performance like he did at UFC 200, and it's like, oh fuck, this guy can bang.
Yeah.
So anyway, fun times. So we're both agreeing Frankie Edgar destruction here. Well, let's see what the odds are. Anyway, so yeah, what were you saying?
I said decision, but still
a very
decision. Unanimous decision, though. So
yeah, the odds have. Oh, that's interesting. Minus 140 for Frankie Edgar and plus 120 for Yair Rodriguez. They have it fairly close. I think that is dumb.
Yeah.
I think. I think Frankie Edgar at minus 140. I might stake on that. That's really good. But yeah, okay. Let's move further down the card then. We could go to this card is not structured how it is. I think Henry Cejudo and Sergio Pettis is the next one down officially. So yeah, that's actually the biggest underdog on the card is Sergio Pettis, and quite rightfully so. Henry Cejudo is very, very good, and I thought he won against Joseph Benavidez. Do you agree with me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
100%.
He looked a lot better in that fight than Benavidez did. I thought, this is a pretty tidy decision for him, and the scorecards were red. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that was a weird. I'm just thinking back to it, and I'm like, what's going on? Like, I thought for sure it was he won, like that. You know what I mean? And then you see him like, what? Like, split decision? What? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, like the fuck. I hate those kind of decisions where it just sort of defies all logic, and you're just really, really annoyed by it. I mean, I can get some that are like Machida and Phil Davis that divide opinion. It really depends on your MMA philosophy, as it were, as in what do you see as more dominant, what do you... these questions haven't actually been answered. There's no official consensus on it. So fights like that are fine, but when it's kind of pretty unanimous across the board with MMA media scoring it all one way and then the judges all another way, it's ridiculous. It's just confusing.
Remember, Cejudo was deducted a point though too.
On there, yeah, but it wasn't deemed relevant though.
No, I know, but still,
Was it a majority decision? I think.
Split. No, split.
Oh, it was split. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, round one, he got deducted a point.
Yeah. Was it a split decision? So somebody gave him 3 rounds.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. But anyways, Sergio Pettis. someone who I think is so overrated, he's underrated. If that makes sense, as in, like, well, basically people overrate him because then there's the obvious link with his brother, and as a result, people like respond to that hype and point to his losses and say like, look, the guy's garbage. He's not very good at all. Like, yeah, get off this hype train. And I think that as a result has led to people underrating him. Because he does actually have a very solid skill set. His chin is somewhat iffy in some areas. He can be beat. He's not like his brother in terms of like brutal effectiveness with the kicks. I haven't seen him in the UFC like really be able to like cripple people with body kicks and really change the tone of the fight with that kind of power and precision. But he does remain some kind of like relevant force at lightweight, and I could see him pushing maybe 3-4 in the rankings. Against someone like Cejudo, especially now, I don't see it. I see Cejudo all day in this one. Cejudo is a very, very well-rounded fighter. He's a very well-polished fighter. He's got that kind of Olympic athleticism that's been trained into him. And obviously his wrestling pedigree is one that's exceptional. Like, you can't really get that much higher than Olympics and, like, you know, I guess NCAA and all that stuff, but he's a very talented guy. I see absolute destruction again in this fight. So yeah, I see Cejudo all day. I see takedowns. I see him outboxing him actually. I see Pettis' striking. He's got some like decent kicks he can fire off. Well, he can get some good combinations, but I don't think he'll do that well against a really kind of good technical southpaw boxer like Cejudo. So what's your take on this fight, and how do you think it'll play out?
I agree 100% with you. Again, I think Cejudo's more athletic. I think his pedigree is impeccable. He's going to take him down all day. He's going to take him down. He's going to wrestle him. He's going to win by decision. It's going to be not even close. I agree with you. I think Pettis is kind of overrated based on the name. He's very good. Again, though, he's very good, meaning ranked 10-5 and no better. Maybe that's even overshooting it a bit. Cejudo's an Olympian medalist. I mean, and look at his losses. One was to Benavidez, which we both agreed that we didn't think it should have been, and then other was against the GOAT.
Yep.
Of the division, and you can't really argue with that. I mean, Pettis is decent. He's in the UFC, so we can't take away from that. But Cejudo's that. I mean, he's all world. He's an all-world wrestler. His takedown accuracy is 100%. I'm sorry, but Sergio, you're not going to
yeah. Woo. But imagine if Sergio Pettis comes out and he does some kind of crazy fucking kick knockout. Him as a contender, that would be a very good sell. Like, dollar signs popping in Dana White's eyes there. Sergio Pettis is a new
Mighty
contender.
Mouse has cleared out the division. There's only like a couple people in that division he hasn't fought yet.
Oh yeah, so, as an MMA fan, I almost want Sergio Pettis to win this, because then, like, we've got a new goat to feed to the dragon. Yay!
I don't, because Ray Borg.
Yeah.
I'd rather see him fight Ray Borg.
Well, he got beat by Justin Scoggins recently. Who what happened to Scoggins? He got beaten by someone else.
Who, Borg?
Borg got beaten by Scoggins recently. That was a really good performance from Scoggins, where he displayed like these two stance karate style. Like, he kept switching from southpaw to orthodox and had some cool striking.
The only reason I say Borg is because he's 4th ranked, Scoggins beat him by decision in February. So and then he went out. He beat Smolka and Formiga. So you can't. Going off that, who else do you feed to Mighty Mouse?
True. Yeah.
He's number 4, and he's beaten the top 3 already.
It is kind of like
until he moves up.
To Mighty Mouse?
which I want him to move up, and I want him to fight Cruz, and I want him to fight Dillashaw. I do not want him to fight Garbrandt, although I hate Garbrandt. But that's a whole other issue.
Well, the thing with DJ is I just want him to. I want that focused around the record and breaking the record. All the promotion should be around that. I think he deserves to get that record. I think he deserves to smash it. Maybe get 2-3 in the lead, and then I want to see bantamweight. I mean, I love watching Mighty Mouse destroy people.
I do too.
It's almost like the Mike Tyson era, where it was just this dragon you'd occasionally throw a goat at so the dragon would eat it, sort of thing. Just like feed to pacify the beast. And it was fun watching a Mike Tyson fight. I say this like I was alive at the time. I was born in '92. It was fun in the Mike Tyson era that just like seeing someone just be absolutely destroyed. Here is a warm body, and here's the champ Mike Tyson. Like the Simpsons episode where they parodied it, where like Homer walks out with a jacket that just says "opponent" on it. Wilson Hiss, it seems disrespectful to say, but it's just to talk of his opponents and these guys are so good, but are just used as sparring dummies for Demetrius Johnson. This guy's just even better. You've got the greatest of the great in the division, and this one guy who's just so much better. Demetrius Johnson, and just watching him destroy people. I could do that all day. Feed him anybody. Get him fighting every week. Let's get these new entrants. Just throw them into the fight with Demetrius Johnson so we can see some flying knees, tornado kicks, just anything Demetrius Johnson is capable of. It would be a jobber match with wrestling. He could just do anything. He could just hold the guy at his arm boom. He would just be of that kind of level above. I don't care so much about building contenders in the flyweight division because they've tried that before. Look at this guy, look at his skills. Could he be a challenge to Demetrius Johnson? Nah, not really. It's just hey, well, either we're going to see a massive upset or we're going to see Demetrius Johnson destroy somebody in a really cool way. So that's the value in watching a Demetrius Johnson fight. I am always pleased to. Okay, let's move a bit further down the card then. So Eddie Alvarez is returning in this one against Dustin Poirier. Two guys, is Eddie Alvarez Black Zillions? Or no, he's training with Mark Henry now, isn't he? Yeah, he's training with Mark Henry. Better training than Black Zillions, definitely, which have now disbanded and self-destructed, I believe.
Pretty much.
So ATT won in that Cold War. Good for them. And yeah, ATT obviously Dustin Poirier's home. Who are you picking in this fight and why?
Well, I think Alvarez is going to outbox him.
Okay.
I think it's going to be. I think this might be the most disappointing fight out of all of them. I don't know why.
Oh really? They're both such exciting guys, though.
They are, and that's exactly why I think it's going to be the most disappointing fight. It's you know what? I have nothing to go by it, but just feeling. I just think that I don't know. I think Alvarez is going to be very careful. I think he's one of those guys that he's still a little bit shaken from Conor, and I think he's lost a little confidence. But at the same time, he's had a pretty good career. Look at it. Look at his record and everything. And ever since he came over to UFC, he's still in that age. He's early 30s. He still has a chance to climb back up there. I think he's going to be very patient with Poirier. And at the same time, I don't know, I think he's just got a little bit crisper, better striking background, better arsenal in his pocket than Poirier. I like what Poirier's done since he's moved to the division. But that being said, I think experience, I think patience is going to pay off for Alvarez. I think Alvarez is going to be very, very patient, almost too patient, where he's going to kind of feel him out for a while. And I think that veteran kind of, not to say Poirier's not a veteran because he is too, but I just think that Alvarez, something about him, I think it's going to start his kind of ascent back to where he was. He's not going to get too crazy and kind of overextend himself. He overextends himself and he starts getting into a slugfest. Poirier could easily take control of this. Poirier is very dangerous. but I think Alvarez is going to have a little bit more in his tank, and I think he's going to win it by decision. I'm not confident at all in this pick whatsoever, but that's the way I think is going to happen. I think it's going to be, unfortunately, I'm saying this too with tongue-in-cheek, hoping that this is going to be a fun fight. Just like Frankie Edgar and Yair Rodriguez, I'm kind of wishing that Rodriguez clips Frankie Edgar in the first 2 rounds and beats the hell out of him, and then Edgar comes back from the dead and absolutely slams him like he did Gray Maynard and does all kinds of stuff.
Hey, if someone can do it, he can do it. Yeah, I find this matchup really, really interesting because both Eddie Alvarez and Dustin Poirier, guys who their main trouble has been losing cognitive abilities in a bout of ferocity. They get kind of so fierce, so wild, and so offense focused that they'll lose their ability to defend. They'll just get caught. They'll make mistakes, and those mistakes get capitalized on. It's something that's plagued Dustin Poirier and Eddie Alvarez through both of their careers. They both are very, very well aware. They've talked about it in interviews, and both have had coaches have a lot of success with them in honing their skills, allowing them to apply their aggression more precisely, allow them to get knockouts, allow them to not completely lose themselves in the brawl, as it were, which is obviously very fan pleasing, but it doesn't win you fights. And in the case of Dustin Poirier, a couple of times it gets you knocked out. So yeah, these 2 guys both knocked out by Conor McGregor, so they've had similar experiences in demoralizing knockouts, forcing you to reinvent yourself. So I see actually Dustin Poirier winning this. Dustin Poirier has been kind of underrated. I loved his run before the getting caught by Michael Johnson. I loved lightweight Dustin Poirier. I still love lightweight Dustin Poirier. I think he's a very, very undervalued and underappreciated talent. I think he's a smart guy. I think he's in the gym 24/7 at American Top Team. He's got a great team who know what they're doing with him, and when he can apply it so well, I think he can take it. This will be like fundamentally based around boxing. I think Alvarez probably has a slight edge in that, but he's someone we've seen dropped by. He got dropped by Shinya Aoki not that long ago in the very first round by a shot that was not that significant, and obviously not just knocked out by Conor McGregor. Dustin Poirier is not Conor McGregor, but there are availabilities. There are questions for both of their chins. I think it's a possibility we're going to see Dustin Poirier knock out. I'm not overly confident, but I just feel Dustin Poirier has this one. I think the precision he's able to work at, I think the kind of pace he's able to keep, the skill set, and if he's able to be like truly focused in this fight, he has Eddie Alvarez. Do you think Alvarez is overrated because of the Dos Anjos win, which many reported? Didn't they say Dos Anjos was very, very sick before the fight, or there was some very kind of he was very sick, very injured. That kind of first round knockout has caused people to overestimate Alvarez's boxing abilities.
I think in general Alvarez as a mixed martial artist is overrated. I don't think his striking is though. He's known for that. I think he's very good. He's very sound with that. Could he be? I mean, I need to see a little bit more from him. I mean, Melendez Pettis, I mean, he ran through them. He lost to Cerrone. It's tough. I mean, I think Alvarez is overrated. And it pains me that I picked him. Part of me is kind of convinced to go over to Poirier right now. The problem though too is when I was looking at this matchup and everything, Poirier is one of those guys that I like to lead with my heart on. I legitimately knew Conor was going to beat him.
You picked him anyway. I remember that show.
Yeah, because you know what? But that was me getting my heart in the way of it. However, I mean, this would be a head thing too. I think I'm being stupid in a way. I'm telling you right now that I'm not confident at all already with Alvarez. I'm going to stick with Alvarez. But Poirier is a guy that I love. And I agree with you. His work ethic is bar none. I just think, like I said, I think Alvarez, though, I think his boxing is not overrated, and his striking. I think overall he is, just as a mixed martial artist, and I think that was exposed. I think he's going to be one of those guys that, yeah, he was at the top in Bellator. UFC, yes, you could argue he's at the top because he's a champion, but, let's put a little asterisk next to it, because look what happened.
He had a lot of competition in Bellator. I mean, Michael Chandler, he handled him the first time. Awesome fight. That was the same weekend as UFC 139 where we had Shogun and Dan Henderson.
Yes.
So great weekend for MMA.
Sure.
Good times. But yeah, you're right. This is an interesting matchup. This will be a lot of fun. I'm thinking.
I want Poirier to win. I'm gonna say that. I want him to win because I want him to make a little bit of a run. But it always seems when he's making a run that he comes into a roadblock. And it's like since he's moved in this weight class, he's been fantastic. But Michael Johnson stopped him, so it's like, ugh. Let's start from scratch again.
It was annoying that I loved his fight with Bobby Green at UFC 199, where Bobby Green was doing his usual thing of like, come on, hit me, and Poirier was just okay, boom. It's like, oh, okay, he's out cold now.
Sure.
Just, I love watching Poirier win because he's one of those guys you can really tell they've worked so hard for that win. He deserves that win 100% because he's put in the hours in training camp. He's got he polishes so well. Okay, it's become late at night, so we probably should wrap this up after. In terms of fight, we can go to depth. Who are you looking forward to on this one? I am very much looking forward to Chaz Skelly fighting because I think Chaz Skelly is fucking fantastic. He did 2 fights in 13 days and won, and that Darce choke in one of his latest fights, I can't remember who it was against. But yeah, I think Chaz Skelly is really, really, really good. What do you think of Chaz Skelly and some of the rest of the people on this card?
Yeah, I mean that's one. The other one that there's 2 other fights that I'm looking at. I mean, James Vick.
Yeah.
He's very impressive. I think it'll be an interesting fight with him. But honestly, the one that I'm looking forward to is some more middleweights. I want to see how Branch does in his return to the UFC against Jotko. I think Jotko's going to win, by the way. I think Jotko's on a roll right now.
David Branch was the World Series of Fighting guy, right?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So, and that's the theme of this, the World Series of Fighting. We were talking about Gaijthe at the onset of the show. And now we're going to, here's Branch. And Branch is coming back because he fought in the UFC a long time ago. I don't even remember. I mean, we're talking about a real long time ago that he was in the UFC. So it'll be interesting because he was a 2-division champ in the World Series of Fighting. Mm-hmm. And it's become this influx now. It's funny. You have the immigration of these fighters. You have him, and Marlon Moraes is coming up soon. And I think it's UFC 212, I believe he's got a fight. So that's the 3rd fighter coming over from World Series of Fighting. So it's going to be interesting to see David Branch. I don't really know. I haven't seen much of him over in World Series of Fighting. I have to admit I haven't watched as much. Just the eye hasn't caught it. I mean, that makes me a terrible mixed martial artist fan.
No, I'm trying to... I just don't want to blitz it. I think he's fought Yushin Okami and Jake Shields over there.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's held 2 belts, so over there, what... We'll see what happens, but Jotko's an interesting man. He's one that's, I think it's a perfect fight for the 2 of them too. Jotko's lost once, and he's kind of rising right now in the rankings of the middleweight. And we know how muddy this middleweight division is, so it'd be interesting to inject again some new light into.
Well, yeah, and also speaking of World Series of Fighting, Jessica Aguilar, their former strawweight champions on the card as well.
Yes.
So all featuring. All repping the Race FO promotion here. Also, Can I just say as well, I like World Series of Fighting a lot more than Bellator. I find the shows I've watched, World Series of Fighting, I don't know what it is. I think mainly the commentary, the production style, not even necessarily the fights or the fighters, but I don't know. I enjoy World Series of Fighting, and also watching other promotions. and being able to see like rising talent that you think, ooh, this guy would be in the UFC one day. That seems so much more relevant in World Series of Fighting than in Bellator, that's trying to present itself as a competition and is often like a kind of saving ground for like what was I I'm trying to think of the word, outcasts of the UFC, I guess. People who've been like banished from there, or for various reasons, or refugees from from the Reebok deal.
And World Series of Fighting seems to be more low key. It's less kind of all this grandeur that we get with the Bellator, with the like the over the top promotions, almost borderline WWE sometimes.
Well, like it goes beyond like cringier with guys like Tito and Stephan Bonner.
Yeah, I mean, not just that. I mean, look at the Dada 5000 and Kimbo Slice and Shamrock and Gracie and everything. It's like, okay, and my biggest fear is with that, people like Chuck Liddell now and Matt Hughes, the whole rumblings that both of them really want to fight again. And it just, I kind of worry about that, especially with the bad blood with them in UFC. I could see that coming to fruition where both of them end up in there and fighting somebody. I mean, I really don't want to see Chuck Liddell and Tito Ortiz again.
No,
so
I don't.
But you're right. The World Series fighting. My issue is I think I've watched it before, and and it's one of those things where it's almost an afterthought. You almost become immersed in it. But sometimes I like it because it's on a little bit later at times. Mm-hmm. It's on regular television, and it's here in the States. States we have pay-per-view. I don't know how it is out there, but you have to either you stream it somewhere or you go to a bar and watch it. But for World Series fighting, it's on regular television, cable, and it's usually, I believe, the last fight was on 11 p.m. Eastern. Now, for us, I know for you Brits out there and everything, it's different because pay-per-views start at 10 p.m. here. So it's early morning for you guys when the pay-per-views start. Now, I'm a night owl, and now especially since I'm a new dad, I'm going to be up all the time. So for me, it's kind of something refreshing where a pay-per-view, or not even a pay-per-view, a World Series of Fighting, the main card starts at 11 p.m. It's kind of cool. It's West Coast usually when they in Arizona or California or whatever, and it's kind of refreshing, something later on to kind of watch. That's why I always get pumped for the Japanese cards.
Yeah. Well, sometimes with Australia as well, they start it on a Sunday and they just do it at a weird time, which is annoying. But yeah, I love the ones that are a lot earlier in the day that I don't have to stay up until 5 in the morning for.
Yeah.
Because that fucks you up all week.
Oh,
like,
sure.
It's great. It's worth it. I mean, I used to do it all the time for like just any fight night. I would stay up till 5 in the morning. Now I only reserve it for pay-per-views when I've got a bunch of people together. And I spend like the start of the next week regretting it. That is, I'm too old, man. I'm too old now. Okay. One thing going to before we go. Why do you hate Cody Garbrandt?
I don't.
He seems like a lovely young man to me.
I never thought I'd actually root. Well, okay, there's a couple reasons. Again, this is going with my heart. I'm such a fanboy of Dominic Cruz, so I'm a little bit aggravated about the loss. Number one, I really don't like T.J. Dillashaw, but right now I do. I just think from watching Garbrandt, especially now, he's almost bully-esque. He's acting like a bully. He's antagonizing, and Dillashaw is no angel either. But the way it's being portrayed so far in the first couple episodes of The Ultimate Fighter, and what we're hearing outside and everything like that, I see somebody like Cody Garbrandt, and it's almost against what Team Alpha Male is to me. I don't ever look at Team Alpha Male. I look at these guys like Uriah Faber. When I think of Uriah Faber, and I'm sure you could attest to this as well, I think of class. I think of due diligence and somebody that is very humble, and he's just a hard worker. When I think of Cody Garbrandt, I think of the complete opposite. I think he's pretty brash. He's bold. He's cocky. He's almost that new wave. Sometimes that's good. But I feel like he's a bully. I feel like he's one of these guys, and all he's doing is antagonizing Dillashaw on the show so far. And all he's doing is getting his face. And Dillashaw's, I got to give Dillashaw credit. He's sitting there, and he's giving shots back, but he's just kind of shaking his head and doing things like that. I don't know. I don't like Garbrandt. I didn't like the clown. I mean, okay, this is somebody that likes Rampage, so it's calling me a hypocrite in a way.
Well, we all are.
But I don't know. There's something about him. Maybe I don't know. He just, to me, he's that guy that I just don't like. He's a guy. He just comes off of that air of arrogance a little bit, and he's the champion, yes, and he absolutely, unfortunately, to me, he outclassed in the octagon Dominic Cruz. That is very difficult to do. Dominic Cruz had no answer for him whatsoever. I don't like the dancing. I don't like the whole, clowning, all that stuff in the octagon. Stop. Like, I'm not a fan of Diaz either when he lies down, in the ring, in the octagon. I don't like that at all. I mean, at least with, even McGregor, like, and you know how much I'm not really a McGregor fanboy. At least McGregor, when he's in there, yes, he does some of his taunting, but he's kind of more business than the...
Yeah, and it's for a purpose as well. I mean, I think it's the same with, like, the psychological intimidation on Tough. When, like, McGregor was on The Ultimate Fighter and he was intimidating, antagonizing TJ Dillashaw, I thought that was fucking hilarious. And that way, he definitely had an objective in there. And it's probably hypocritical again for to dislike Garbrandt. I see your point. Garbrandt just comes off like a dick, and he's not very articulate as well.
Yeah, he's very bully. I mean, the thing is, and the same thing, he's not funny, and that I think that's part of it too.
Yeah.
I think people like Chael Sonnen can get away with it, where he's not. And the thing is, the same thing with what we were just talking about with McGregor. McGregor didn't. The problem is Garbrandt got physical. I mean, he put his hand on his throat. Like, the thing about, like, McGregor kind of sat back and called him a snake. That was pretty funny. When, oh, you're a snake, he told me, and all that stuff. And, like, just, McGregor's hysterical, I'll give you that. Like, he's very talented. But, and the same thing, like, Chael Sonnen, too. Pretty funny. These guys are funny, and they do it a lot, and they show respect. Now, Garbrandt, I don't know. I don't know enough about him yet. I haven't seen him enough. I just think he's coming across as, okay, he beat Dominic Cruz. Yes. Great, and he's very brash. I think it's his look too. I don't know.
Anybody with a neck tattoo, there is always that skepticism about them.
I don't know. I mean, it's tough. And I mean, he got engaged, and Dillashaw even congratulated him on Twitter. Like, it's. I mean, you should see his fiance, by the way, which makes me not understand her, but because.
Do you reckon her father is approving?
No, I tell you what, good for you, Cody, I guess, because that's all I have to say.
Oh man, I can't imagine if my daughter came home with someone with a neck tattoo.
Well, I mean, that's the thing too. I get so mad, and what's funny is, I was watching it. I don't know which was it, this last week or even the week before our baby was due. We were home a lot and everything, and it was one of the weeks, and I was watching it. And my wife is not a big fan of mixed martial arts, but anyway, was a doll, and I was watching it with her, and all I was doing was bitching to her about him. She's like, "What are you having?" I'm like, "Look at him." I'm like, "He's a bully. He's an asshole. I fucking hate him." Like, I just got so fired up, And it's like, it's one of those things where I think I judge him, and I've judged him, but I have a feeling about him. Like, I don't think he's very nice. And you even watch him on the show. If you watch him talking, something always focuses when they're in the lineup getting ready to go, out to announce the next fight. You see all the guys and all the coaches. I always see in the background Uriah Faber. And I see Uriah Faber sitting there quiet. I see Uriah Faber almost looking like, this guy, what am I doing around this guy? It's almost like, I don't know. I don't know if you feel that same way.
I have that. I do get feelings about people sometimes. Like, I'm not sure, but I really don't like you. Like, just that vibe. I know it might be wrong, might not be. I don't know. Yeah, the stuff I've seen of Cody Garbrandt doesn't really make me like him very much. I think there's definitely something to be said with like bully.
Yep.
But hey, we don't know the full story. We'll see how this
That's the
season of
thing.
The Ultimate Fighter plays out. But
Like, look at. Here's an example before we go. Michael Bisping. A lot of people do not like him whatsoever. Now, for some reason, I always did, and then I met him, and I even like him even more.
yeah, it's something. It's something about being something to say about being genuine. You know.
And the thing is, Bisping is another guy, an example, and I could just say, like Connor, he's another guy that's funny, and he's not a bully. Like, he'll come out and say pretty much, okay, listen, this is what I'm going to do. And, like, Bisping, I think, is portrayed maliciously in the States more than anything, because I think he's this arrogant, Brit or whatever, because we have some ignorant people over here, but that's besides the point.
No, that's accurate. It's accurate.
But I've always liked Bisping, so I can't even do a comparison to that. There haven't been very many people that I've met and talked to in person that I have that in the fight game that have been nasty. They're all pretty great. So the same thing goes with somebody like Garbrandt. I haven't met him, so I don't know. Maybe he's a really cool guy or really genuine. He's something about him is rubbing me the wrong way, and I honestly could say that. Even, and you know how much I bitch about people like John Jones and how I bitch about McGregor and things like that. It's more about their fans. But when I just take all that aside and I look at McGregor and Jones, I don't get that same feeling I do for Garbrandt. Garbrandt's in that league by himself.
I don't think McGregor and Jones are in a kind of group together though, because
No.
I think the main thing about Jones is he's a fucking phony. He's so phony, and when he does kind of express himself, like did you see the Joe Rogan experience he was on, where okay, you've been suspended, you ruined UFC 200, all these fuck ups. Here is your chance to explain himself. The start of the podcast, he's eating into the mic. He's got food there, like Joe is starting. He's got food and he's eating into the mic, and then he makes a comment about like. When he was talking about how he wanted sons and didn't want to get stuck with more girls, like more daughters to raise or anything else, and he was talking about a point before he's had two more. So, like, saying that about your kid, like, fucking horrible. I think John Jones is a horrible man. I'm through the kind of reservations of like, I don't know him, maybe I'm just hating. It's like, nah, John Jones is a dick. Fuck him.
I agree with you. My point though was Garbrandt. I feel even more strong. Like
okay.
Like stronger for him. That's the thing. Like
Jones has proved it a lot more though.
Yeah, and the thing is, Jones. The problem is around here. He's a local guy. He lives. He grew up an hour away from Buffalo, and I was there pre-fight in Buffalo. And he did his autograph signing at the bar restaurant that we were at. And he came in, and number one, I haven't met him yet or anything. They wanted $120 to get a picture with him and an autograph. And I'm like,
that.
I spent less than that for an expo, and I met probably about 50 fighters to get pictures with, and they didn't charge. You know what I mean? So to me, that was, so I mean, if we had to rank, I mean, Garbrandt, I'll put it the trio. 3 people in the UFC that I legitimately do not like because I think of their attitude: Jones, Garbrandt, and Rousey. And all 3 of them, I think they're all arrogant, and I think.
What about Bibliatov or whatever the fuck his name was?
Oh, well,
the terrorist.
Yeah, you know what? I don't even consider him a UFC fighter because he shouldn't have another fight in the UFC after making that comment. So
could be a fucking Guantanamo.
I'm talking about people that are going to make a casual fighters know about. Nobody knows that guy.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to remember him. The scary part about it is people like Rousey and Jones and maybe even Garbrandt is when you're in that position of power, you cause a lot of influence.
Yeah. Oh God. Can you imagine like Cody Garbrandt going on like morning talk shows and something, like going to people, okay, we don't know much about MMA, but let's meet an MMA fighter. You're an MMA champion, guy with a neck tattoo that can't really articulate himself very well and resorts to aggression very quickly. He's all the negative stereotypes of MMA fighters, isn't he? Bad tattoo, thuggish.
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely, and that's the thing. Like
unarticulate. Like, yeah, Cruz was much better champion, a much better kind of ambassador for the sport.
Well, he's well spoken. I mean, Cruz. You know, Cruz has a future. Here's the thing: Cody Garbrandt loses that title, or he goes on, well, he gets hurt or whatever. In 5 years, we're never going to hear from him again. I mean, he may be in a gym somewhere coaching. Dominic Cruz is going to be with I almost guarantee he'll be with the UFC. He has a job for life pretty much as an analyst. I mean, no, there's nothing that I enjoy more than listening to his breakdowns of things. The guy is so articulate and so well versed, and he's got, I would say, pound for pound, the best fight IQ there is. I mean, there's nothing better than me watching him. And I mean, even watching some of these other guys, Stan is not bad. Even going, Bisbee is fun to watch too. Even Tyron Woodley's, I like listening to these guys. They know what they're talking about. You put somebody like Garbrandt on this? No. No. And I almost feel like that Uriah Faber, again, this is me just being paranoid and just kind of like, but I watch him. The funniest thing for everybody, watch The Ultimate Fighter next time. Watch when they're in the big scrums and everything, and watch in the background. You'll see Uriah Faber, and he almost looks embarrassed. Like, this guy's in my team. Like, he's in Team Alpha Male. Why? Like,
okay.
I just...
I'll have to pay attention to that.
Yeah, it's something about it. It looks weird. Like Uriah Faber's kind of smirking a little bit, but it's like, it's one of those uncomfortable smiles. Like, shut up, you're on national television. You're making us look like thugs, like idiots, And it's...
shit. This guy.
And to me, it's like the complete antithesis of him. It's like Uriah Faber. I can't speak a bad word about that guy whatsoever.
No, I don't think anybody who's, apart from maybe Dominic Cruz, but even Dominic Cruz has some reservations. Like, I think he can dislike Faber somewhat. Like, you can find him annoying, you can find him obnoxious, you can find his team annoying. But he does have a lot of respect, I can tell that, for Uriah Faber. And I think anybody who's really been in the sport, and especially someone who's fought in those divisions, anybody in those lower weight classes knows what he's done. Complete, total Hall of Famer. So associating him with someone of that kind of personality, yeah, I can see what you mean. I'll keep an eye out for that in The Ultimate Fighter. But... anyways, we've gone an hour and a half now, 90 minutes, our usual, so we should probably wrap up and say goodbye to the good people of the internet. UFC 1... UFC 2... 1? Oh, no, we passed that. UFC 211. Yeah.
Wait, what do you mean there's a tournament? There's a one-night tournament? Please.
Bring it back. I think that's wanted by MMA fans more than anything else, yeah, I'd say.
It's
probably
not realistic, let's be honest.
We can dream. We can dream.
Yes.
Hey, there's always Tijuana. Okay. Tony, anything you want to say to the wonderful people of the internet before we sign out?
Nothing. Life's good.
Great message to end on. Life's good, people. Be nice to cats. I'm Adam Real. Catch you next time. Coolio. Okay, and I'll just stop the audio recording.